I built a creative agency to 2.2 million in revenue, 40 staff, and then I disappeared for 30 days to see what would break first. What I found when I came back changed everything about how we did business, and 5 years later, it was a big part of why we were able to sell from a position of strength. Today, I'm going to give you the exact 90-day system that I use to extract myself from the operation step by step, and I call this the owner extraction method. If you don't know me, I'm Connor McCauley, and I built and sold a creative agency called Kaizen in Belfast. Over 13 years, we grew it from 0 to 2.2 million, and that started in this bedroom, by the way, 40 plus team, and a multi-7-figure exit on the other side. But before the exit, I spent 5 years systematically removing myself from every function in the business. Sales, delivery, client relationships, strategy, absolutely all of it. And when the buyers did their due diligence, which they will, they asked one question more than anything else. What happens when you leave, Connor? And because I'd done the hard work, because I put the effort in, my answer to this was perfect. The business had systems. The team had autonomy. The answer was worth real money in my pocket. Now, since exiting, I now coach other agency owners through this exact same process. And recently I've been working with one client called Glaze Digital, and over the last 14 months, they've increased their revenue by 47% and increased their profitability by 110%. And now we're having further conversations about scale over that next 3 to 5 years. And that's what the extraction method makes possible. So let me describe your week to you, and you tell me if it sounds just a tiny bit familiar. We come into the office on a Monday morning, coffee in hand. You open up your inbox and there's 57 emails sitting ready for you. Half of them are client questions that your team could have answered, but they didn't because they're waiting on you to approve something first. I think so. Secondly, we've got a proposal that's been sitting in our to-do list since last Thursday. Okay, that's no problem. But you've also got a project that's gone sideways. And the reason that's gone sideways is because your PM didn't escalate it early enough, and now the client is unhappy. They messaged you at 3:30 on Saturday morning. What does that say? It says that they only want to speak to the boss. Now, by Wednesday, you've not even touched that proposal. You've spent 11 hours in client meetings. You've reviewed 3 sets of creative artwork that your senior designer could have signed off on. You've answered 634 Slack messages, and half of them weren't even for you because we're being polite. By Friday, you're not tired, you're exhausted. You've not done any of the strategic work that you'd planned. You're already dreading Monday. I see this time and time again. And many agencies could not function without their founders for 30 days. And if that's the case, you don't have a business, you have a job. A stressful one at that, with a lot of overhead. And it gets worse. A business that depends on its founder is worth significantly less when you try to sell it. Buyers pay for systems, they pay for recurring revenue and team capability. They do not pay for founder heroics. And I know this because I lived it. Before I figured all of this out, I was working 60, 70, 80-hour weeks, answering emails at midnight, finishing projects even later than that, and telling myself that's just what it takes. It doesn't, and I ended up being the bottleneck in my business, and I didn't even realize it. So, how are we going to fix this? Well, firstly, you need a system. And it's not just saying, I'm going to delegate more, which is advice that sounds good on paper, but means nothing. We need an actual step-by-step process. And I call this the owner extraction method. It's a 90-day system built on 2 core ideas. The first idea is the delegation ladder. Most people think delegation is binary. Either you do it or someone else does. And that's not how it works. There are 4 levels. Level 1, you do it, right? That's where most of us will live. Level 2, you do it and they watch. You bring somebody into the room, they observe, they listen, they will eventually be able to part, but they don't do anything. They just sit there and listen and learn. Level 3, that one, is they do it and then you watch. They're in control, they've taken the steering wheel, they're driving. Level number 4, they do it and you review the results. You see the output, not the process. You're informed, not involved. But the mistake that every one of us will make time and time again is trying to jump from level 1 to level 4, and it doesn't work. You hand somebody a task with no context, it goes badly. You take it back, sometimes angrily, and say, nobody can do it like me. And you've told yourself that time and time again. But that's not true. The second idea is the 4 components of owner independence. Every agency has 4 functions that matter. Commercial, sales and pipeline, delivery, projects and quality, decision making, who decides what in your business, and reporting. Are the numbers visible without you? Your job over the next 90 days is to move each one of those from founder dependent to team owned. And that's the end game. So here's the full 90-day plan broken into 4 phases. I'm going to give you specific tools, specific numbers, and specific examples for absolutely everything. Okay, so phase 1 is the time audit. And if you work with me, this will be the first task that we complete together, because you can't fix what you can't see. For 2 weeks, track absolutely every single thing that you do. Not what you think you do, what you actually do. So what I would use is an app called Toggle. It's free and you can create 5 categories: sales, delivery, client communication, admin, and strategy. And every single time that you switch a task, you should log it. Now, I would also set a timer on my phone for every 30 minutes as a reminder. And by the end of those 2 weeks, you should have at least 80 hours of log data. When I did this in Kaizen, I discovered that I was spending 62% of my time on tasks that didn't need me. People coming into my office for a chat, all of that combined to about 25 hours a week that I was wasting on things that my team could have done, or things that didn't need me. And here's what typically shows up in the time audits. Client status update emails, 4 to 6 hours a week. First pass quality reviews on creative work, another 3 to 5 hours. Project coordination between departments, 2 to 3 hours. Team meetings, another 2 hours. Proposal formatting and creation, another 2 hours. Scheduling and admin, 2 hours. That's nearly 20 hours just right there. The output of all of this, right, will be a spreadsheet with 3 columns. It'll be the task, the number of hours a week that you spend, and a very honest decision if somebody else could do this or not. And I have to be brutally honest. So phase number 2 is to document your top 3. Look at your time audit, find the top 3 tasks that eat the most hours and don't actually require you. Not the most important tasks, the biggest time drains where you are replaceable. For most agency owners, the top 3 are client status updates, project coordination, and first pass creative review. And in this Google Doc or Notion, there's 4 sections per SOP. You're going to have a trigger, what kicks off the task. You're going to have the steps, maximum 8. You're going to have what done looks like, what does your level of quality and that standard mean to them. And the escalation point is number 4, when do they come to you? At Kaizen, our client update SOP was exactly this. Check project status in our CRM, our project management tool. Use a template, send within 4 hours, escalate a little bit if the client pushes back on the timeline or budget. And the SOP eliminated so much time from my perspective every single month. The key is that we don't aim for perfect right this second. We aim for progress. We aim for that it just exists in our systems. A rough SOP that your team can follow is infinitely better than a perfect process that lives in your head. And here's phase 3. We want to delegate just one thing fully. And this is where the delegation ladder kicks in. Pick the easiest of your 3 documented tasks, not the most impactful, the easiest. You want a quick win to build the confidence of your team and ultimately yours. The schedule then will be in week 5 that you're going to take the task that you do normal and just do it. They will sit and they will watch you. And after each instance of doing it, they will spend 5 minutes asking you questions and you can explain your thinking. And in week 6, they do it. You are in the room. They are taking the control. You don't touch anything unless it's going properly wrong. So if you have to, bite your tongue and let them make the small mistakes that they inevitably will. This is the hardest part for most founders. In week 7 and 8, they do it and they send you it afterwards for review, and you review the output only, not in real time. You get a summary, not every email. By week 8, one significant task should be completely off your plate. That's probably 5 to 8 hours of your week reclaimed. And what I want you to do now is to track that, okay? Phase 4 then, I want you to expand and assess. Repeat this exact process that we've just talked about time and time again with 2 new tasks. You've done it once, so you know how the rhythm will work. You work on week 9 and 10 for task 2 and weeks 11 and 12 for task 3. And by the end of our 90 days, the numbers should look like this. 3 tasks fully delegated to your team. 15 to 20 hours of your week reclaimed, and 3 one-page documented SOPs in your system, and at least 1 team member operating at level 4 of the delegation ladder. So what I want to do now is take you back in time on my trip to Malaga in 2015. I didn't tell anybody in our team that I was testing the business. I just said that I was taking my family away for a month, which was 100% true. But what I also wanted to happen was to see how the team would fare in my absence. In week 1, we had 3 really urgent calls from the team. Client escalation, a massive problem, a project timeline that slipped, a deliverable that went wrong, and a new business lead that nobody knew how to handle. In week 2, I had just 2 calls from the team. There were the same type of problems, but we'd already figured out how to handle those, and the team was now taking their ownership and they were doing it themselves. And in week 3, I had just 1 call. The building burned down. No, it didn't. It wasn't even urgent. It was just a check-in to get my opinion. And in week 4, not a thing. 0 calls. The business just continued. Now, obviously it wasn't perfect. We lost a small pitch because nobody followed up. We didn't win another pitch because I wasn't in the room, I believe. The quality of our work probably wasn't as good in some instances, and we missed a major deadline of a site going live. So there were problems, but nobody died, the business didn't fail, and we were able to fix them afterwards. And I realized in all of that time that the team working without me being the bottleneck, without me drowning in admin every single day, and then being able to continue on and doing the things that they need to do with autonomy, was the catalyst to our scale. And when I got back from Malaga, I didn't just jump into operations exactly the same way as I did 30 days prior. I spent the next 5 years building on what I had learned, documenting every process, and we hired a team to support us. Moved clients from my phone into Kaizen clients, and they were then looked after by the team. And when COVID hit in 2020, those remote systems that I built years earlier meant that the team transitioned in hours while other agencies scrambled. And when we sold the business that year, the buyers didn't need me to stay on, they wanted that. The business was the asset, not me. And here's what most founders don't want to hear. After I left Kaizen, it kept going. It's still today, 5 years later, doing brilliant things. And we, the agency owners, think we're the oracle in our business. But I guarantee that if you have somebody doing 50% of your work, you'll see no issue from your team or clients. They will rise to the level that they have to. So, if that all sounds good, this is what I want you to do right now. I want you to take action. Just one thing. I want you to download and open Toggle and create 5 categories that I mentioned previously. Sales, client delivery, client communication, admin, and strategy. And I want you to start logging your time from right this second. Not tomorrow, right this second. 2 weeks of data is all we need to see exactly where your time is going. If you want the full owner extraction checklist with the delegation ladder template and my SOP format, I've put together a free download link and it's in the description below, or you can head over to moveatpace.com/resources and you can find it there. Next week in my videos, I'm going to show you how to build a recurring revenue engine for your agency so you stop starting at 0 every single month like we did. So make sure that you have hit that subscribe button, click that bell or whatever you have to do these days so you don't miss out. And if this video gave you one idea you can use today, please let me know in the comments. I read and reply to every single one. Thanks very much, and I will see you again soon.